What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today we're here with Grand Party Day 3 of the 13th season, and in today's video we're using pretty much the exact same team that we used in the previous Grand Party video here. As you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, as the saying goes. But my first opponent here, I actually found a gold Roger lead, and you know, Roger is still kind of interesting. I went up against one in day 1 or day 2, and I kind of talked about it there, but Roger is an interesting lead, like opposing Gear 5, due to the way that both Roger and Gear 5 charge their burst skill. Roger has to receive damage, Gear 5 has to deal damage. So you get in really weird situations where, you know, you're doing lots of damage towards Roger, but then he gets his burst skill, which can give you half stats, which means the opponent does more damage to you. And the thing is you can kind of manipulate in a way where you know, you have a pretty fair idea as to when the opponent is going to be using their burst skill. Like, if they're behind, they're always going to use it at the start of the game. So I wasn't really too concerned about all of this here, as the opponent's teams, they were pretty good matchups for me, as I saw the first team, the powerhouse team, versus my opposing team there, worked pretty well there. The secondary team is that Free Spirit team up against my Dex team, and basically I was just kind of thinking, you know what, you know, if we win, we win, if we don't, we don't. And I was putting myself in a situation where, you know, if I can use my burst skill, that's awesome, because I know that my opponent doesn't have Gear 5 burst, so I don't have to worry about, like, dying to the Roger burst, really. And because my opponent uses the burst in the first 20 seconds, like, we really shouldn't be taking that much damage. However, Rebecca still launches in the first 20 seconds, which does do a hell of a lot of damage to us. After this match, though, I actually end up changing my Dex team so that it is a little bit more tanky in the front end, rather than having 2 Rumble Rare Recruits on the front line. And after doing that, it definitely works much better. So definitely not a big fan of the way I have the setup right now. It gets changed in the next match, but we're able to pick it up, and we ended up, you know, going for the win in this second match, using that burst skill and securing victory. Moving on to match number 2, there's really not a lot to talk about here, because my opponent here does have an essentially like a randomized team, and this is something that I kind of wanted to discuss briefly, is the fact that you actually can make it easier for everyone out there in the community. The best thing to do is, after you have finished your Rumble matches, change your leader or change your team to something else, because when someone finds you, they're gonna find whatever team you have currently set up, or whatever team you used last, or whatever. So at the end of the game, I'll show it at the end of this clip here, at the end of this video, I end up changing my leader at the end of my Grand Party matches, so that if anyone out there ends up finding me, it's not going to be a Gear 5 lead. Obviously, my teams are still going to be the same, but it's not going to be Gear 5 lead, so it does give a lot of people out there a much higher chance of victory, as, you know, you don't have to encounter Gear 5s, and this is what this individual was able to do. They manipulated their team so that it's really easy to take down, whilst also securing victories in their own right. So shout out to the real ones out there in the community that are doing really good work, ensuring that Grand Party is less of a stress on everyone. And obviously, we can all take, you know, our own time and do our own part in making sure that Grand Party is a little bit more of an enjoyable experience. Because if we can all secure 15 wins, we all get the rainbow gems, we all get the bounties, we'll all get the title. Of course, we can all do it as a community, but it's up to everyone to remember to change your GP leader once you're finished your matches, and when you're about to start your matches, change them back. Okay, so just wanted to put it out there. But anyways, I'll leave you guys with the rest of this clip, and we'll pick things up in match number 3. Match number 3 is actually the most difficult one of the day. We're up against an opposing Gear 5 team. However, it's a relatively good setup, as we've got that Dex-focused team at the front, but man, this team was stressful. One thing I didn't really... Well, I sort of accounted for it, but I thought we were going to be okay, was going to be Don Chin Jiao. So Don Chin Jiao, he ends up special binding our whole team, which is obviously a bit of an issue. That Don Chin Jiao special binding our entire team means that we can't use specials, and we are kind of screwed because this team is not bulky in any sense, and it kind of relies on us actually using our specials in order to get the win. Luckily, we get very lucky in terms of when characters were able to come out of that special bind. Luffy is just able to get out of it as he comes up, which means he can launch his special, we can use our burst skill, and then we get the win. Now, of course, the thing about this team is we want to try and use up my opponent's burst skills before we reach game 3. So we'll have our own burst skill and the opponent will not have theirs in game 3. So we're up against the Psy Free Spirit team, up against my own Dex team, and as I said, I manipulated the team around a little bit. So instead of using Don Chin Jiao on the front line, I've put Doflamingo, who has a little bit higher HP, which means that it's going to be a little bit more tankier, and it's going to be more difficult for my opponent to actually kill us. And this route definitely worked out, even though it got kind of close. The opponent used their Gear 5 skill, luckily at just the right time, to ensure that he gets his burst skill, and then we only had a couple of characters left on our crew, and he ended up using the burst skill to secure victory, which was very lucky for us. So as long as you know how the AI works in terms of when they use that burst skill, it gives you a much higher chance of victory because you know when to expect certain skills and you can plan accordingly, which is exactly what we do in this strategy. We implemented this strategy perfectly last season to pilot our way to 15 victories. And then we move on to the last game. The opponent has no burst skill. We have our own burst skill. However, it was against an opposing Free Spirit team, like that rainbow-ish Free Spirit team with Zoro, Sanji, etc. However, luckily for us, we have Nami and Karina, and they do not, which puts us at a massive advantage because we've already talked about it extensively. Nami, Karina reducing their special CT, so they have to do normal attacks, and then Zoro applying the counter and provoke mechanic, applies a lot of pressure to the opponent. And then Gear 5 skill, of course, whenever he launches his special, does a lot of damage. And we have our burst skill, which puts us in a good spot. So that's going to wrap it up from me. At the end of this little video here, there's going to be me changing my GP leader, just to show you guys how that all works. And then also a red ticket for securing 9 victories. But I'll see you guys in tomorrow's Grand Party video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. On that, I'll catch you guys within the next video.